The Built Ford Tough BCS pregame on Fox is sponsored by Allstate, proud sponsor of college football and the Allstate Sugar Bowl. Are you in good hands?
It is a sellout crowd and a boisterous crowd indeed at the Superdome in New Orleans. We welcome you to the 76th annual Allstate Sugar Bowl, where the unbeaten University of Cincinnati Bearcats take on the 12-1 and defending national champion Florida Gators. And Happy New Year, everybody. Alongside the coach, Brian Billick and Chris Myers, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to our BCS Bowl Bash on Fox. Generally, Coach, we talk X's and O's at this point in the broadcast, but tonight, I know you feel like with all the storylines with these two teams, tonight is all about emotion in this game.
Tom, I promise you, it is nothing but emotion to start the game right now. Let's start with the University of Florida and, of course, Tim Tebow, one of the most passionate, emotional, and talented players in all of college football, playing his last game. And his coach, Urban Meyer, has led them to 2 national championships. Is this his last game as the head coach of the University of Florida? Across the way, the University of Cincinnati, it's all about respect. This is 2 years in a row they've been in a BCS game. They're 12-0. They believe a win tonight establishes them among the college football elite. And oh, by the way, their head coach, Brian Kelly, he's already left for Notre Dame. So I can't wait for this thing to get started.
Well, we're ready to get it rolling here tonight. What a turnout by these fans from Cincinnati, and they are ready to welcome in the 2-time defending Big East champions, the University of Cincinnati Bearcats. Well, for the Bearcats, a storybook season. Their 12 wins, the most ever in school history. And they did it primarily by scoring. Nearly 40 points per game, 6th most in all of college football. Their second straight BCS game a season ago. Losers to Virginia Tech in the FedEx Orange Bowl, and they try to get their first ever BCS win here tonight. Bearcats for the first time all season long donning the white helmets, and we await the rival of college football's defending national champions. The heartbreaking loss in the SEC title game to Alabama. Here come the University of Florida Gators. Is this indeed the final game as head coach for the Gators for Urban Meyer? His team had a 22-game win streak until that SEC championship game, lost overwhelming opponents the entire year in this senior class. The winningest class in SEC history, 47 victories against only 7 defeats and 2 national championships. The coin toss when we come back to the Superdome. You're watching the BCS Bowl Bash on Fox. Welcome back to New Orleans, and it's time to join the public address announcer at the Superdome, Doug Green.
Tossing the coin at tonight's game will be Dennis Haysbert, known for starring roles in The Unit, the hit series 24, the Oscar-nominated drama Far From Heaven, the baseball comedy Major League, and putting people in good hands as the face of Allstate's award-winning advertising campaign.
All right, gentlemen, I want to introduce you to our honorary person who's going to toss the coin All-State spokesperson, Mr. Dennis Haysbert. All right, now this is the coin. That side, the trophy side, All-State trophy side is heads. The other side with the two teams on it is tails. Cincinnati, you are the visitors. What is your call? Tails. Tails. The call is tails. Mr. Haysbert, would you do the honors? It is heads. Florida, you've won the toss. Your choice. Florida has won the toss. They've deferred to the second half. You want the ball? Second ball. Which way do you want to go? All right. Put your backs to where you're going to kick. Get the coin here.
So Florida has won the toss, deferred to getting the football in the second half, so we'll get a look immediately at this Cincinnati offense, which averages nearly 40 points per game, going toe-to-toe with one of the best defenses in all of college football. Just about set to kick it off from the Superdome moments ago. Chris Myers caught up with Urban Meyer.
Thanks a lot, Tommy. First of all, Urban, Happy New Year to you. And given the drama of the week, what tells you this close to kickoff that your team is ready to go?
Well, I like the way they came out and performed in practice. You know, pregame is pregame, but all you can gauge as a coach is how they do a Tuesday and Wednesday practice. And our guys came out, practiced hard. You know, this is the Sugar Bowl, and we're excited to be here and against a great team.
You seem relaxed. How are you handling the possibility that this might be your last game as the coach of Florida?
I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about letting our chance. This is a chance to win, I think, our 26th game in the last 2 years, 13 games this year, send these guys out the right way, and we're going to play awful hard.
And it is the last game you'll be coaching Tim Tebow at Florida. Some special thoughts there?
Yeah, I just love Tim, and Tim's been great for college football. He's been great for every young person in the world.
We look forward to the game, as Tom Brennan would say. That is that. The game face of Urban Meyer. All right, Tom, back to you.
Chris, thanks so much. Coach Meyer, thank you very much. Caleb Sturgis set to kick it away, and one of the most dangerous men in all of college football is Mardy Gilyard. 4 kickoff returns for touchdowns in his career, including the last 2 games which he played to end the season. A 90-yarder against Illinois, a 99-yarder against the Pitt Panthers. So here we go from the Superdome. And Gilyard comes up to get it from the 7. And he is stopped at the 26-yard line. Senior quarterback Tony Pike. It has been a meteoric rise for this young man in a very short amount of time. He began last season number 4 on the depth chart. And due to injuries, by the 3rd game of the year, he was the starting quarterback. He broke his arm, missed 2 games, came back, and led Cincinnati to its first ever BCS game. He starts his 9th game this year and has thrown 26 touchdowns against just 6 interceptions. Wide open spread offense, a very efficient offense, and that's Mardy Gilyard. And he's out to the 32-yard line. That'll be a gain of 5. Here's tonight's Merrill Lynch Wealth Management starting lineup for the Bearcats on offense. Isaiah Peed, the sophomore running back. Dynamite receiving trio led by Gilyard along with Benz and Woods. And this very underrated offensive line allows less than a sack per game, but a tall order tonight against this Gator D. Blitz coming. They get it away. That's the tight end, Gaduli, and he has a first down out to the 43-yard line. And there's a late penalty flag that comes in. This may be on the Florida Gators. A personal foul that would tack on 15 more.
This is the matchup that fascinates
After the
me,
play,
Tom,
personal foul, number 40 on the defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
That's Brandon Hicks.
I don't think the University of Florida has quite seen a passing attack like what they're seeing tonight against the University of Cincinnati. But on the flip side, I'm not sure Tony Pike and this Cincinnati offense has seen quite the talent level, particularly in the back end, as they're going to see against this very man-oriented University of Florida defense.
One thing about the Southeastern Conference, historically, so many great quarterbacks and great skill players. This year was not a good year, offensively speaking, especially in the quarterback position in the Southeastern Conference. They give it to Jacob Ramsey. He's off the left side, and a big gain for Ramsey. He's inside the 30. There is a penalty flag down. Ramsey, the seldom used senior, who's been replaced by Isaiah Peed as a primary back for Cincinnati on offense.
Holding on the offense, number 56. At the 10-yard penalty, first down.
And we've already seen, Tom, some of the emotion beginning to show up on both sides of the ball, with a penalty being called on both sides, both Florida and Cincinnati. Both are going to have to calm down a little bit.
Take a look at our Merrill Lynch Wealth Management starting lineup defensively for the Gators. They have Carlos Dunlap back. He was suspended for the SEC championship game due to a drunk driving charge. And in that secondary, many believe number 5, Joe Hayden, is the best cover corner in all of college football. So after the big gain of 12 is erased, a 10-yard penalty makes it 1st and 20 for the Bearcats. Pike rolling left down the field, and it's incomplete, 2nd down.
You know, part of the reason for the University of Cincinnati coming out and running a no huddle or a sugar huddle is to try to calm down the different packages that the University of Florida can throw at them. The hard part is this Florida group is good enough. If you force them into doing nothing but man-to-man, they're pretty good at that. You got to be careful what you ask for here by the case of the Bearcats.
Jeff Quinn, the interim head coach for the Bearcats, after Jeff Quinn was named for one game. He just got the head coaching position at the University of Buffalo after this game tonight. They try and stretch it to the outside, and another penalty flag comes in. We have a Pac-10 officiating crew working the game tonight.
Holding on the offense, number 66. 10-yard penalty, 2nd down. Penalty is declined, 3rd down.
Here you're going to see it on the right side of the screen as we come back. Just up in here. Ends up getting a little bit of a hold. Anytime you extend your hand away from your body like that and you get all jersey, it's going to get called by the officials.
So a couple of penalties have really stalled this opening possession for the Bearcats. 3rd and 22. And Pike rolling, chased by Dunlap. And it is caught, but far short of the first down, and Cincinnati forced a punt on its first possession of the night.
Part of the issue for the Cincinnati Bearcats offensive line, Tom, is the sheer speed and athleticism of the Florida front can lead to a lot of these holding penalties because they can't just latch onto them.
Of course, the Gators are without Brandon James, so Chris Rainey will get the first try at returning the punt, and he's dropped immediately at the 15-yard line by Orion Woodard. So Tim Tebow and company get the football for the first time when we return. Time to take a look at our Ford keys to the game, brought to you by Mr. Brian Billick.
Well, for the University of Cincinnati, you got to get a big play. You're not going to beat University of Florida with 10, 12, 15 play drives, and you got to limit the Florida offense on 1st and 2nd down, because Tim Tebow and this group are lethal on 3rd and medium and short. And for Florida, obviously, you've got to be able to make this a very, very physical game against this undersized Cincinnati defense.
Well, Tim Tebow won the Heisman Trophy, of course, his sophomore year. He hands it off to Jeffrey Demps. And Demps out across the 20 is dropped at the 22-yard line. 18 touchdowns against 5 interceptions. After winning that Heisman Trophy, the first ever sophomore to do so, Tebow, a 2-time recipient of the Maxwell Award, owns 4 NCAA, 13 SEC, and 25 school records. One of the great leaders in the history of college football. Aaron Hernandez in motion. They throw it to Riley Cooper, and he has a first down out across the 35, run out of bounds at the 37. Take a look at tonight's Merrill Lynch Wealth Management starting lineup for the Florida Gators. We'll see in the backfield primarily the duo of Demps and Rainey. We'll see some Emmanuel Moody. They start in a 3 wideout group of Thompson, Cooper, and David Nelson. Keep an eye all night long on Aaron Hernandez. And by the way, Marquise Pouncey, the center, spent 5 hours in a local hospital last night suffering from kidney stones. But they felt like he was okay and ready to play, and he's in there at center tonight. Tebow one way. Tries to bring it back the other way. A great tackle made by Alex Daniels, the senior out of Columbus. And now this Cincinnati defense, brought to you by Merrill Lynch Wealth Management. They play the 3-4. Third in the nation in tackles for loss. They're led by Andre Revels, a senior out of Cincinnati's Coleraine High School. We'll talk about him throughout the night. Aaron Webster is the only returning starter from last year's Orange Bowl team. Shovel pass to Hernandez, and you can't play it any better than that, although are they going to get a face mask on John Hughes or a horse collar tackle?
Yeah, it looks like he got his hand in there. I couldn't tell if it was the face mask or in behind the pad. We're going to see here as he pitches the ball.
No foul.
Just catches the helmet on the end. Clearly grabbed the face mask for a personal foul going forward.
Nope, they said no penalty.
Wow. Wow, boy, what we just saw, that incidental pull of the face mask, I think they got away with one there.
3rd and 7. Hernandez very close to a first down. It looks like he has it up to the 47-yard line. Dropped there by J.K. Schaefer.
And that's the down and distance I was alluding to earlier, that the University of Cincinnati has to keep Florida in that longer third down distance of 7+. You get into a third and short, third medium, Tim Tebow is absolutely lethal. He will carve you up. University of Cincinnati's got to continue to keep him in a longer third down.
Tebow to throw it on first down to Emmanuel Moody, who checks in for the first time. And the former USC Trojan, who transferred 2 years ago, has been hurt most of this year, gets inside the 45-yard line. Well, of course, Tebow, over his 4-year career, the numbers are simply staggering. Closing in on 12,000 yards of total offense, the most in SEC history. The 141 total combined touchdowns. That's the 4th most ever in the history of football. And the most rushing touchdowns, surpassing Herschel Walker among all SEC players. Second and 2. Catches made by Deontay Thompson, and that's another Florida first down to the 35.
And this is what makes Florida so lethal, Tom, is the running game, the multiple option game that they have with Tim Tebow forces you to isolate on the interior of their offensive package that leaves so many one-on-one matchups on the outside, gives Tim Tebow all the license he wants to go to those good, big, physical receivers he has on the outside.
They hand it to Demps on first down. And a good strong run for the diminutive Demps. He's inside the 30, down to the 29-yard line, wrapped up by Aaron Webster.
And this is as simple as a screwdriver, just shoving it right down the middle of the Cincinnati defense. You can see they're in a normal 3-3 alignment. But look at the size. This is the advantage for obviously the University of Florida. Huge offensive line, 6'5" or better, with a bit of an undersized defensive front 4 of Cincinnati.
Ninth play of this opening drive for Tebow and the Gators, and he is dropped back of the 35-yard line, and there's some extra pushing and shoving going on. Alex Daniels, the first Bearcat there.
Nice job of the Cincinnati secondary. Watch how this pocket collapses around Tim Tebow. He's got no place to go. A straight read down the field. This is not Tim Tebow's game. If the initial 1-2 read's not there, he's got to pull it back down, and the pocket collapsed around him. Nice pressure by Cincinnati.
Daniels leads Cincinnati in sacks, and on this 3rd down and 9, he goes to the Bearcat sideline, shaken up. Tebow Across the middle to Thompson, and that's another first down to the 21.
Nice job by Tebow here. You're going to see that had to wait out the receiver coming in from this left side. He's waiting for this window in here to open, having just been sacked, waits it out, and then delivers the ball right to where it needs to go on a long third down conversion.
Tebow 6 for his first 6 for 54 yards. That's a penalty. It looked like against Demps. There was a whistle we thought we heard, but Tebow carries inside the 5-yard line. That was a very odd situation there. I don't see a penalty flag anywhere, but I thought we heard a whistle on the Bearcat sideline thinking the same thing.
And the Bearcat coaches are pleading the same thing. They heard the same whistle. Unless it came from somewhere in the field, that was the play. The Bearcat player, Cincinnati, definitely stopped. They thought the play was dead. Clearly a whistle. I don't know where it came from. Evidently, it didn't come from the field.
First and goal now for the Gators. And they give it to Demps. And he's dropped for a loss. Daniels back in the game for the Bearcats, along with Rebels and Schaefer on the stop, and Demps is down injured. Well, you can tell Demps is in a great deal of pain.
Here you can see right here, Demps, as he's going down.
That's a left arm.
All of a sudden, he just landed kind of odd on that left side. And then the player came in over the top. It looked like maybe he got his arm caught in between his body and the turf there as he went down.
But take a look again when he puts his left hand down on the ground. We're going to get back to that when we come back.
The Allstate Sugar Bowl on Fox is sponsored by Bud Light. With the just right taste that's not too heavy, not too light, the difference is drinkability.
Tonight's aerial coverage is brought to you by Bud Light on a beautiful night in the Big Easy. That was not anything you want to watch very many times. What just happened to the left arm, the left elbow of Jeff Demps. Second down and goal for the Gators. Tebow with all day, rolling left, finds Hernandez, and he is into the end zone. Touchdown.
The last thing you want to do is let Tim Tebow get outside the pocket. His go-to guy Hernandez here on the run. Big target that once he gets his hands on it was going to power his way into the end zone. Nice job by Hernandez in the open field. Gets his body and the ball just across the end zone for the Florida score.
A 13-play drive spanning 84 yards, capped off by the touchdown to Hernandez.
It was interesting to me in visiting with Urban Meyer that equated Hernandez to, this is my go-to guy. This is my Percy Harvin. Now, no one would look at Hernandez and say, what do you mean Percy Harvin? But in the times that they go to him, the critical times, the third down, Hernandez here is the key. This is the injury right here, and you hate to see it. Hopefully it's just a hyperextended elbow as he hit it wrong. Hopefully nothing more serious than that and just a tweak of that elbow.
Well, they're still looking at Demps over on the Florida sideline. In fact, they already have him in a sling over by the Florida bench. Caleb Sturgis comes on for the point after. And it's blocked. Walter Stewart got a paw on it. Could that be a big point later tonight? impressive drive for Tim Tebow and the Florida Gators. 13 plays, 84 yards. Tebow 7 of 7. Rushed for 16 yards and capped it off with a 7-yard score to Aaron Hernandez. So again, we keep an eye on Mardy Gilyard. And for a second time, he will bring it back, this time from the 5. And Gilyard into the open field. And out across the 40 to the 45-yard line. Let's check in downstairs with Chris Myers.
Tom, sophomore Jeff Demps was taken by his own power. He got into a golf cart. They put a sling on that left forearm, and they actually wrapped it and iced it down. They got him on a golf cart. They're looking at x-rays now. They believe the early indication is it's a forearm fracture. He is unlikely to return. He appeared to be dealing with the pain okay, but it will be determined on the x-rays whether he will return or not. But it does not look good early.
What a shame. Jeff Demps, the electrifying sophomore out of Winter Garden, Florida. And Cincinnati with the football for the second time. The quick slant to Gilyard. And he's across midfield to the 46-yard line. Remember now, when Cincinnati had the ball the first time, they picked up huge yardage on 3 plays, but after a 12-yard run, a holding call put them back. Another penalty made it 1st and 20. The drive stalled shortly thereafter.
Yeah, a single penalty of that nature can typically kill a drive. To overcome 2, just the odds are against it. They got great field position here to capitalize on.
Isaiah Pead gives it back to Pike. He's looking down the field to Gaduli. Tip ball. Great coverage by Joe Hayden.
And it's really unfortunate. He had Armand Benz on the other side of the field. Little trickeration here. You got to know, trying to go outside against the speed of this Florida defense, you're not going to see a lot of this. So you got to kind of know something's up. And obviously he's got his vision down the field. Couldn't quite lead him enough to execute the big play. Really unfortunate because Benz was all by himself on the other side of the field.
Pike out of the shotgun on a 3rd and 2, and he is dropped for a loss. So after getting great field position following the 40-yard return by Gilyard, would Cincinnati dare contemplate going on 4th down? Remember, Jeff Quinn is the interim head coach, replacing Brian Kelly, who departed Cincinnati going to Notre Dame after a perfect regular season.
Well, obviously, as they've got the punt team on the field, this is the thing to do. It's way too early in the game to jeopardize putting this potent Florida offense on a short field. You want to opt here, see if we can get them pinned down, hopefully inside the 10-yard line, to see if they can go the distance again.
Jake Rogers, both the punter and the field goal kicker for the Bearcats. Rainey from the 10 breaks a couple of tackles and brings it out to the 19-yard line. With 4:48 to play in the opening quarter from New Orleans. And the Gators with a 6-0 lead.
The Allstate Sugar Bowl is sponsored by Allstate, proud sponsor of college football and the Allstate Sugar Bowl. Are you in good hands? By Ford. Visit bcstailgate.com for your chance to win BCS tickets and an F-150. And by FedEx. We understand you need reliable shipping options. FedEx.
Well, if Tim Tebow is your guy, you can follow him the entire game. Log on to foxsports.com for our exclusive Tebow Cam. We have a camera tonight dedicated to showing the Florida quarterback in this his final collegiate game. Tebow Cam exclusively at foxsports.com. Tebow 34-6 since taking over the reins as the Gators starting quarterback. And replacing the injured Jeff Demps is Chris Rainey, the redshirt sophomore out of Lakeland, Florida, who rushed for 548 yards on the regular season.
They prefer to use Rainey out of the slot, but obviously with the injury to Demps, he looks to be the lead guy now. He's got that kind of speed. You can get him to the outside of the perimeter of Cincinnati's defense. He can do some big damage with some big plays.
The speed of both Demps and Rainey is truly staggering. Rainey placed 3rd in the 4x100-meter relay at the NCAA Track and Field Championships a year ago. But dropped back to the 31-yard line is Emmanuel Moody. And a man who blocked the point after a moment ago, Walter Stewart, a redshirt freshman, there to make the stop.
This nice penetration in this play by Cincinnati. Simply coming in through the gaps here. The defensive line, they've got a good solid wall here. Shucks off the pulling guard's block. Nice job by the end, wrapping up the Florida running back.
2nd and 12. Tebow to throw it down the middle of the field. Wide open is David Nelson, and that's a first down to the 40-yard line.
Yeah, what I want you to watch here, classic Florida offense with all the running that they do. I want you to watch how all this defense gets sucked up with the play fake that now gives a clean read right over the top of the linebackers and the nickel man down the field. This is exactly what this Florida offense is built for.
30-yard pass completion, Tebow to Nelson. Tebow 8 for 8, 91 yards and a touchdown already. And he's going to throw it again. Wide open again is Aaron Hernandez. Still on his feet, inside the 15, down to the 10, and penalty flags litter the field. Many wondered, could this Cincinnati defense hold up against this Florida Gator team?
During the run, illegal block in the back, number 3 on the offense. That's a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
A penalty against Chris Rainey.
Well, we talked about the way they use Hernandez in the slot here. And now he just comes in. It's got to be a broken coverage. They rolled off and took the deeper man. Stewart following back into coverage. But Hernandez, the #1 go-to guy for Tim Tebow, got in behind that secondary. And as I said earlier, he's kind of the Percy Harvin mode. He fills into that even though he's a big tight end.
Well, we kind of raised our eyebrows when Urban Meyer said that the other day in our meeting. He is our version of Percy Harvin. Harvin, of course, having a great rookie season with Minnesota in the NFL. Nowhere to run for Emmanuel Moody. Dropped for a 3-yard loss by Stewart and Dan Giordano. A couple of redshirt freshmen for the Bearcats. Well, our great overhead shots tonight. Boy, what a great camera that is. Brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
I could get used to this TV cam, guys. This is a great view of this game.
Tebow looking around, great protection. Flag comes in, still being chased and finally thrown to the mat by Alex Daniels. He's been extremely active early on tonight.
This goes against the Florida offense. It's very disappointing to get a holding call when you really only had a 3-man rush. You got to figure your 5 guys can keep the 3 out without holding them.
And you got to believe Cincinnati would
Personal
decline
foul,
this penalty.
Illegal hands to the face, number 57 on the offense.
And that's what it was. And that's one of those things where the hands start on the pad, works their way up.
That penalty's declined. 3rd down.
We're going to see here on the left guard right here. Watch as he starts down. He goes to help. Excuse me, it's the left tackle that I think that got his hands on it rather than the guard that worked his hands up into the face mask of the defender, and that's what the official's going to see. Nice play by Cincinnati, able to turn down the foul, maintain the down, and still get the loss.
Becomes, even though it's early, a very important defensive play for the Bearcats.
Got to keep him in this 3rd and extremely long. They got to stop him on a 3rd and 15. They so far haven't on a 3rd and 7 and a 3rd and 9.
Tebow steps, throws, catch made, but short of the first down. Riley Cooper at the 23-yard line came back to get it. And out comes the field goal unit for the Gators.
The size of these Florida receivers, Riley Cooper, David Nelson, Forget the offensive line. They're all 6'5" or better. But David Nelson, 6'5", Riley Cooper, 6'3". This is as big and as impressive an offensive unit physically as I think I've seen in college football.
40-yard field goal try for Caleb Sturgis, who hit on 21 of 28 on the year. And it sneaks inside the left upright, and it is good. 2 possessions, a touchdown, and a field goal. Gators lead 9-0. Here's tonight Reese's perfect profile on the 12-0 Cincinnati Bearcats. They were picked 3rd preseason in the Big East and then went to New Jersey and just blasted Rutgers. 2 weeks later, beat Oregon State on the road. A week after that, beat a good Fresno team at home. 2 weeks later, won at South Florida, and then closed out the year with wins over ranked teams Connecticut, West Virginia, routed Illinois, and then that 45-44 thriller in the final seconds at Pitt to cap off the unbeaten season. Gilliard for a 3rd time. He brought it back 40 yards the last one. And he is hammered to the deck at the 23-yard line by Janoris Jenkins. Well, you turn back the clock to that Oregon State game, and that was the one that opened a lot of eyes around the country going on the road and doubting Oregon State. South Florida game, Tony Pike broke his arm. In came Zach Collaros, who had 555 yards of offense in that shootout win over Connecticut. And then the thriller in the snow at Heinz Field. Cincinnati trailed 31-10. The touchdown pass in the final 33 seconds to Armand Benz won it. Pike on first down finds Ben Gaduli. But he maybe picked up a yard, dropped by Dustin Doe.
This Florida defense, Charlie Strong, the defensive coordinator, is all about pressure and man coverage. And we're going to see a lot of pressure from his front for no other reason than to get the ball out of Tony Pike's hands quickly, because he thinks he has the back end, the secondary, to keep up with these Cincinnati receivers.
They give it to Ramsey, and coming up to make the tackle for a 1-yard loss, the middle linebacker playing in his final game, Brandon Spikes. Of course, the story's been told many times. Spikes and Tim Tebow, heavily recruited by rival Alabama. The two were together on their visit. And Brandon Spikes was asked, "Where are you going?" He looked at Tebow. He said, "Wherever he's going."
That's good evaluation on Spike's part.
3rd down, and Pike is sacked all the way back to the 15-yard line by Justin Tratto. So 3 and out this time for the Bearcats offense on the final play of the opening quarter. 9-0. Gators lead it. The All-State Sugar Bowl on Fox will continue after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. Jeff Demps has made it back out of the Florida locker room. You see him wearing a sling still on that left arm that Chris Myers reported on has a fracture in it. For more on that story, let's check in with Chris once more.
Yeah, and Tom, they did look at the x-rays and found out it's a dislocated elbow. So he's out for the remainder of the game. No torn ligaments. They had to snap it back into place, and he is out for the remainder of the game.
Well, what a punt by Jake Rogers out of his own end zone all the way to the 35-yard line. A 59-yard punt. There is a penalty flag back on the far side of the field. It's be offsides against the Florida Gators.
Well, this was a heck of a punt. They run a running punt that basically displaces the punter out of the body of the protection, and that will stretch a defense sometimes trying to get to that edge.
Defense offside, number 7. That penalty is declined.
A great punt. Obviously could have been great field position for Florida. Now at least backs them up to their 35-yard line.
Well, the Bowl Bash continues tomorrow on Fox with the AT&T Cotton Bowl Classic from Cowboy Stadium. And then on Monday, it's a Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Boise State and TCU on Tuesday, the FedEx Orange Bowl. The Bowl Bash continues tomorrow, 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, only on Fox. The Iowa Hawkeyes will take on the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck. What a great year they've had. And first down, it's Rainey. And he's up to the 39-yard line, a gain of 3.
Well, initially they put Rainey in the backfield to account for the injury to Demps, but now they're running Moody in there a little bit more. I think they want to maintain Rainey on the outside, motioning in from the slot where he's most effective.
Rainey filling in for Jeff Demps. A dislocated elbow, and as Chris Myers reported, he will not return. Nice catch by Moody, and then escapes a couple of would-be tacklers and has the first down up to the 48-yard line. He ran right by Brad Jones.
This is a nice throw by Tim Tebow. This is one of the throws that people question on his ability. You're going to watch Moody come into motion. When you throw a little swing pass like this actually needs to be one of the most accurate passes you have. You want him to catch it going downhill. Moody didn't have to break stride or change a step a bit. Gave him a running downhill start at the catch.
Tebow out of the shotgun. Throws. Catch is made by Thompson. A perfect 12 for 12 in this game is Tim Tebow. In this his final game as a Florida Gator. Much has been made about Tebow and the next level. Can he play quarterback in the NFL? Brian Billick, you were one of the great offensive coordinators in the history of the NFL with Minnesota. Won a Super Bowl as a head coach with the Baltimore Ravens. We'll talk more about it later, but your impressions initially of Tebow?
Well, I tell you what, you want to bet against this guy, but there are some legitimate questions that have to be looked at with regards to his abilities at the next level.
They give it to Moody, and he's up the gut inside the 35 to the 33-yard line. It'll bring up second down and a yard.
And this is the heart of the option that they run. Watch the mesh point between Tebow now and Moody. How long and deep he rides him in. Boy, that really stretches a defense, because when you can't know until that late which of these two really good athletes is going to have the ball, that really stretches the defense in a way that makes it almost impossible to defend.
Hernandez in motion, Tebow to throw it. First incomplete pass of the night for Tebow. He took a hit as he turned that football loose from Drew Fry, the redshirt freshman strong safety.
And they just get a free rusher from the outside. You're going to see this coming off this side. Guy unaccounted for on the outside on both sides that forced Tim Tebow to get the ball up a lot earlier than he wanted to throw the ball.
Third and a yard.
They're working a tackle overset here. They've moved the big beef part of their line right over into here on a short yardage.
And let Tebow keep it. I don't know. This is very, very close. If he didn't get it at this point of the field, you got to believe the Gators would go for it.
Yeah, it shows you how much I know. I'm telling you they're lethal on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. They convert on 3rd and 15, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 7, and don't convert on the 3rd and 1. Yeah, why not? Why not? You got Tim Tebow, this athletic Florida group. You got the lead in your back pocket.
4th down and less than a yard. And Tebow out of the shotgun. They'll run it, and he got it.
Now this is confidence now in your group to start on a 3rd and 1 in the gun alignment and just get in behind all that beef. Like I said, you got tackles over here. You got an extra big body in here. And now you're counting on that big physical offensive line of the Florida Gators to win that matchup against the undersized Cincinnati defense.
Tebow to throw on first down and still on his feet. Looked like he'd be dropped for a loss. He turns it into a 4-yard gain. Take a look at our Ram game summary. Florida out to a 9-0 lead. We certainly expected more offense than this, especially from the Bearcats.
Yeah, and as we said, they really do need the big play because it's going to be very hard for Cincinnati to get an organized, synchronized drive of 10, 12 plays. They're going to need those big plays against this talented Florida defense.
9th play of this drive. It was a gain of 6 by Tebow, 2nd and 4. Moody blasted as he took the handoff from Andre Revels. Undersized senior middle linebacker out of Cincinnati's powerhouse Colerain High School.
And this is the only way you're going to defend this. You've got to slice through there, make them pay early. Don't give Tim Tebow the time to ride this thing in too deeply and blow it up right from the get-go. That makes it a much more difficult read for Tim Tebow. And once, if they can indeed stop that, then you're going to minimize the damage of those long play fakes and the throws down the field.
That is Carl Johnson, a left guard, who's the injured Gator. We'll be back. Carl Johnson able to walk off the field. They're taking a look at that right shoulder. He's replaced at left guard by number 74, Maurice Hurt. On a 3rd down and 5 for the Gators at the Cincinnati 26-yard line. Tebow, quick throw, Hernandez a catch. Inside the 10, spun down at the 8-yard line. The junior tight end, the first team All-American out of Bristol, Connecticut.
Well, as we said earlier, we've seen it all year long, and we've seen it already in this game. Obviously, Tebow, when he needs something in a critical situation, he's going to look for the big target of Hernandez. Very nifty down the field as a tight end. Obviously, 6'2", needs to get better as an inline blocker, but obviously as a talented receiver, has the potential to do well at the next level.
1st and goal for the Gators. Emmanuel Moody met at the line of scrimmage by Walter Stewart, the first Bearcat there.
Florida actually has had some difficulties in the red zone, Tom. You wouldn't think with this option-oriented football that's just made for the confined spaces inside the red zone. Probably one area that Urban Meyer wishes they'd have been a little bit better this year in terms of converting touchdowns in the red zone.
Empty backfield on 2nd and goal, and Tebow just throws it up in the corner of the end zone. Deontay Thompson, a touchdown.
Unbelievable throw and catch. Under duress, Tim Tebow, unbelievable body control. Gets his hands on the ball. Obviously only has to get the 1 foot down, control all the way to the ground. Had guys all over him, had to rely on his receiver. This is a big league catch right there.
Thompson, the talented redshirt sophomore out of Belle Glade, Florida. Only caught 19 balls during the season. But big things in store for him in future years, and the point after is good. So now with 9:07 to play until halftime, the Gators extend their lead. 16-0. Like to remind you, coming up on the Reese's BCS halftime show, Chris, Jimmy, and Eddie will have the scores and highlights from a big day in college football. We'll have both bands performing on the field. All coming up on the Reese's BCS halftime show, and I'm sure Eddie George will be talking about his Ohio State Buckeyes getting a win today, and that defense completely shutting down the Oregon Ducks. Not many teams, Coach, could say that this year.
That's not an easy task, shut down that group.
Darren Williams, rather than Marty Gilliard, brings it out to the 28-yard line. Well, of course, college football on the BCS Bowl Bash. The NFL wraps up the final weekend of the regular season the day after tomorrow. Our 1 o'clock Eastern time games, some big ones, still playoff implications. All over the National Football League, the Eagles and the Cowboys play for the NFC East title. Coverage begins with a Built Ford Tough Fox NFL Sunday pregame show, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Tony Pike's just got to find something to give his offense just a little bit of rhythm here.
Pike on first down, and he is sacked. Very reminiscent of what we saw against Virginia Tech last year. This is such a short drop, get the ball away quickly sort of offense, and when guys aren't open, things begin to break down.
Well, when you have to hold the ball, as you see here with Pike, he didn't like what he saw. Again, this is an undersized Cincinnati offensive line, a very athletic group with the Florida group, or with the Florida bunch. Pike's going to have to get the ball out of his hands very quickly, because holding on to it doesn't hold much of a future.
Pike down the middle of the field and jarred loose. Trying to make the reception, Kazim Ali. A big hit from Ahmad Black.
The thing about this Florida secondary, here you can see as a long looping pass down the field. This entire secondary, Joe Hayden is the one that gets all the attention, and a lot of people thought, okay, they'll come in and they'll just match Hayden up one-on-one with Gilliard. They could put any of these secondary. They're very comfortable.
Face on the offense, number 71. That penalty's declined. Third down.
We had a late flag come in against the left tackle, Jeff Linkenbach. But the Gators will decline the penalty. 3rd and 18.
But they don't need to play matchup coverage to finish the thought that I was talking about. They could put any one of these secondary guys on Gilliard, allowing Hayden to come off of that corner where he's his best.
Again, 3rd and forever for the Cincinnati offense. Gators only rush 3. Pike down the field for Benz. Nearly brought it in. Into double coverage. It was a beautifully thrown ball by Pike, but jarred loose by the duo of Hayden and Major Wright.
Both these last 2 throws were pinpoint accuracy by Pike. The receiver just not having the strength to bring the ball into the body late into the play. Beautifully thrown balls by Pike.
Punt away by Jake Rogers. And another good one by the Cincinnati punter. Spotted out of bounds at the 34-yard line. All Gators so far tonight in the Big Easy. Great start tonight for Tebow and the Gators, and Tim Tebow, one of the finalists for this year's AT&T All-America Player of the Year. To vote for Tebow or any of the others, text VOTE to 345-345 on your AT&T wireless phone, or go to foxallamerica.com for more information. You can win a trip or 2 to next year's national title game. Find out the AT&T All-America Player of the Year winner during the BCS National Championship game a week from today. Tebow on first down. Another completion. This one to Rainey. And a horse collar tackle from behind by Rebels will tack on 15 more.
With the kind of speed that this Florida team has, you kind of grab for anything you can as they go blowing by you. Tough position for Cincinnati to be in.
Foul. Horse collar tackle, number 50 on the defense. 15-yard, first down.
You can see here when with such speed now, all of a sudden you think you're in position and they just blow by you. You just reach up and grab anything you can. Obviously, again, sometimes it frustrates people that gets called, but it's such an injury issue for the players.
I can understand the frustration, I think, with Rebels there. He just grabbed the back of the jersey. On first down, Tebow pump fake, throws. Hernandez again. Inside the 10, first and goal Gators. What a night for Tebow and Hernandez.
For the entire design of this offense is to get the defense to react to one thing and then the Florida offense do another, whether it's a play fake on the run by Tebow or the option, then to step back out and throw in behind. He faked a little flat pass there. Hernandez was on the outside. Defense reacted in. He pulled it back down, was able to get the throw in behind it.
Moody on first down, cuts it back to the inside and into the end zone for Emmanuel Moody.
Just a stretch and cut play. Nice job of stretching the perimeter defense. Xavier Nixon outside allows him to get around the edge, then put your foot in the dirt, in the grass, turn it right up.
Point after is good, and with 7:05 to play until halftime, Cincinnati needs an answer. No answers so far for the Florida Gators.
The Allstate Sugar Bowl on Fox is sponsored by the all-new Ram Heavy Duty, Motor Trend's 2010 Truck of the Year, by Taco Bell, think outside the bun, and by Merrill Lynch Wealth Management.
Tonight's aerial coverage is brought to you by Bud Light. Of course, a big night here in New Orleans last night on New Year's Eve. It was a lot of places. Maybe a little more so here.
Yeah, I've never been to New Orleans on New Year's Eve, and I'm 56 years old, and there were some eye-opening things here even for me. It was great fun, though. They took great care of us down here. Really appreciate the hospitality of the Sugar Bowl committee.
Now, you were the bead man last night.
I was the bead king of Bourbon Street.
Thomas Marshall and company getting us all set up to enjoy the sights and sounds of Bourbon Street last night for a little while. Well, now Tony Pike and company with under 7 minutes to go, trying to get on the board before the half. Our overhead shots brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
And the dilemma for Cincinnati now, Florida has scored more points in the second quarter, 175, than their opponents have scored in totality all year long. This is an uphill battle for Cincinnati right now.
Peed in motion, and they'll give it to him. And Isaiah Peed out of Columbus Eastmore High School. If that sounds familiar, Peed is the all-time leading rusher in that high school's history, and he broke the records held by a fellow named Archie Griffin, the only two-time Heisman Trophy winner in the history of college football. Gilliard. A first down reception up to the 40-yard line. For more on Mardy Gilliard, here is Chris Myers.
Well, Tom, that's what the Cincinnati sideline wants more of. And Marty himself before the game, and he's one of the few guys on the Cincinnati team not from Ohio, a Florida native, said, we're the undefeated team. We're being treated like a Division II team. And moments ago, he was trying to encourage Tony Pike on the sideline, said, you know, I stepped up when Brian Kelly resigned. We need to step up now.
That's an Aaron Hernandez-like play for the Cincinnati tight end, Ben Gaduli, and he's up to the 44-yard line. Now, Gilliard is a young man who grew up in Florida, Bunnell, Florida. Went to Flagler Palm Coast High School. His story is one of the most amazing stories, a journey to get to this night that you will ever read anywhere at any time. Going back to his poverty upbringing, living in a government subsidized one-bedroom apartment with his mother and his older brother while his mom was working 17-hour days. His brother took care of him. They didn't have lunch meat in the house very often. They didn't have milk very often. They didn't have peanut butter. He said one of the reasons I'm so thin is because we used to dip bread in syrup and pour water on our cereal in the morning. But his mother, with lots of love and lots of faith,
the help of his older brother, who's now a deputy sheriff in the same hometown. Watch little brother excel all year long and here tonight. Flag comes down and looking for Gilliard, and it's batted away. Flag down on the far side of the field.
Offsides, defense number 41, 5-yard penalty, first down.
And the injured Gator is Janoris Jenkins.
Yeah, when they went up for the ball, Gilliard did a nice job of converting into becoming of a DB now, but they all kind of came down in a pile here, and hopefully he just got the wind knocked out of him. See here at the top, Gilliard knows I'm outnumbered here. I'm just going to jump up and knock this thing down, and then it's just a mass of bodies and some friendly fire there coming in from the outside, ran into right. Like I said, hopefully it's just getting the wind knocked out of him.
Janoris Jenkins able to trot off the field. A 1st and 5 for the Bearcats at the Florida 45-yard line. They give it to Isaiah Pead. And he runs his way hard, running by Pead to the 40-yard line. A big collision with Brandon Hicks. And then some extracurricular business down there, and they may have gotten Pead. But when you're down 23-0, you cannot have that.
No, and he's still jawing on a little bit. This is, you know, Cincinnati's finally got a little rhythm going. They've hit him with a shuffle pass. They've gotten a couple throws. They've gotten to the outside. And now to be backed up on what looks like it could be a personal foul against Pead, boy, it's an uphill climbing, particularly down 23-0 to a team like Florida.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness on number 25 on the offense. That's a 15-yard penalty. It will be second down.
I think they meant to say 23.
Yeah, that was. And you just, you know the frustration, and you know why. But right here, you just got to keep your cool. And I don't know. Yeah, I guess the officials have to call that. This guy's jawing at one another. I didn't see a shove or a push. And I'm not sure that one doesn't. Hey, son, here's a warning. Let's don't see it again and let him go.
Here you get a look at Steve Addazio. Of course, he is the head coach in waiting when Urban Meyer takes his leave of absence, indefinite leave of absence following the game tonight. Addazio will pretty much run this entire Gator program for the unforeseeable future. Read beautifully by Major Wright, and he drops Gilliard at the 45-yard line.
That's a well-conceived defense by Charlie Strong of Florida. What they bring Hayden, who is their boundary blitzer right here. Hayden comes from the outside, but it's almost a trap. If you can get the ball out over the top of that blitz, all of a sudden now the secondary's waiting for it. I think Cincinnati got baited into that one, seeing Hayden come off the edge. Nice, well-designed defense by the Florida Gators.
Cincinnati has not converted a third down the entire game. This one 3rd and a ton, and Pike being chased, gets it away. Catch is made by Ramsey, and still on his feet, and that's going to be against Florida. That one far worse than the one a moment ago they got Isaiah Pead for, and I think Brandon Hicks might have his second personal foul of the game.
But this one's interesting because it looked like he was down. You're going to see him get out around the edge here. It looks like he's going down, but he doesn't actually go to the ground. He's over the top of the defender.
After the play,
still going
personal
now.
Foul, unnecessary roughness.
And kind of caught him off guard. Now that's just a late hit. I thought maybe he came into it late. That's just a late shove. Officials got to get this under control right now because the John's getting pretty good.
Ryan Stamper is the injured Florida Gator, 5th-year senior out of Jacksonville. Charlie Strong told us the other day they're guys that get a lot more pub and might be better NFL players than Ryan Stamper ever will, but he said he is without a doubt our most dependable player on defense. A model of consistency every day he's been a Gator.
And it's a joy to have a guy like that, because he's the guy that when things get tough, it gets hot. Everybody else on that defense looks to. And when you as a coach, you're not on the field, you can't cross that white line on the sideline. To have that stability on the field is a huge asset.
Again, a reminder tomorrow, our Bowl Bash continues, the AT&T Cotton Bowl Classic. The Oklahoma State Cowboys will take on the Ole Miss Rebels. Our coverage begins at 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, in high definition only on Fox.
Cincinnati's got it, stab it in here now. They've had a nice mix of inside-outside shuffle passes, throws to the inside and outside. This is as critical a series as Cincinnati's had all night.
Maybe all year.
Yeah.
Play fake one way. Pike looking around and just throws it away. Well, Gilliard appeared to be wide open down the far sideline.
But Pike had rolled to the right after the play fake. Always difficult for a quarterback when you get isolated to one half of the field to be able to see and come back all the way across. Again, the secondary of Florida is playing very, very well. The athleticism, their ability to run with the Cincinnati receivers, making it very tough for a clean look from Pike. Everybody up and showing pressure. We'll see if they bring them, or they're okey-doke Pike and dropping out.
They're bringing him. Pass incomplete. He had an eye on Armand Ben.
Quinn's going deep into the playbook now. He knows he's got to stay as broad-based as he can get. You can't rely on just one thing with the athleticism of this Florida defense. You got to get him outside the pocket. You got to mix in the runs. You got to get as many one-on-one matchups as you can get. Gilliard's your go-to guy here.
Play clock under 10. They roll Pike down the field. Incomplete. He had an eye on Gudula. Well, it's fourth down. This would be about a 46-yard field goal try for Jake Rogers. And he'll come out.
And that's the dilemma for Cincinnati. You roll Pike out to get away from the pressure, but you cut the field in half doing it against a very athletic secondary of Florida. So tough dilemma to be in.
Kick is good by Rogers, officially from 47 yards out. So this Bearcat offense, which averages, well, if you round it off, 40 points per game, on the board for the first time tonight, trailing 23-3. Well, so much has been made. You go back a week ago tomorrow when Urban Meyer made the decision, shocking the sports world, that he was stepping down as the Gators head coach. 20 hours later, after an inspired practice, he changes his mind. And that story has not ended ever since.
Well, I can certainly empathize. First off, Urban Meyer doesn't owe you, me, the media, or the fans any kind of explanation about his personal life, whether it's his health, his children, his family. But unfortunately, you do owe an explanation to your players, to the organization, in this case the University of Florida, that's been invested in you, and therefore that means it becomes public. So I can certainly understand the frustration of Urban Meyer. He doesn't want to talk about it, but the dictates of this job, unfortunately, as it will play out, are going to be very much done on the public stage.
Of course, the story well documented, the early hours after the loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game. Upon arriving home, a 911 call made by Meyer's wife. He felt chest pain. He's certainly concerned about his heart and the health of his heart. Florida will get the ball at the 20. Fox Sports asks you to join Malaria No More in protecting the children in Africa. For only $10, you can donate life-saving mosquito net and help stop malaria. Please text the word NET to 85944 And a one-time $10 donation will be added to your phone bill. Messaging and data rates may apply. Certainly something we take very much for granted among many things in this country of ours. So now 3:11 to go. Tebow with a 23-3 lead. Aaron and out looking for more, and wide open is Riley Cooper to the end zone.
Well, Riley Cooper just blows by Dominique Battle. There again with no help over the top. All eyes are now inside because the play fake. Safety not in position. He has his eyes on the quarterback and on the run action of Florida. Riley Cooper has got legitimate open-ended speed. One-on-one battle with Dominique Battle. Obviously Riley Cooper. Big explosive play, really uncharacteristic for this Florida offense. They're not a big play offense per se.
Of course, Tebow and Riley Cooper roommates the last couple of years. 30-3 Gators. Goodness gracious. Of course, Urban Meyer playing against his alma mater here tonight. A graduate from the University of Cincinnati in 1986. Got his graduate degree at Ohio State in '88. But you know, Brian, you coached at the collegiate level, not as a head coach, but as an assistant, and then worked your way up in the NFL, becoming a head coach. I'm sure you can relate to the pressure that Urban Meyer and so many others must feel day in and day out in this job. Pressure as it applies in context, of course.
Sure, and it's not just the pressure on the field and the wins and losses. It's the pressure, and Urban Meyer is very much into the growth of this young football team, of his players. And you get drawn into the pressures, as any of us that are parents know, into dealing with the ups and downs and the emotional state of these young athletes.
Hilliard tackled at the 22-yard line. 80-yard touchdown catch for Riley Cooper, the second longest pass play in Sugar Bowl history.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, you know, this Florida offense is not necessarily a big play offense, where last year they were, when they had guys like Murphy and Percy Harvin. Where, to put it in basketball parlances, they were fast break last year. They're a half-court game this year. And when you saw it, we've seen long extended drives. That kind of big play really is uncharacteristic for them this year.
So now Pike on first down from his own 24. Will give it to Ramsey. And he is dropped by Brandon Spikes. You know, there are those, the whispers around the Florida program that, you know, the Carlos Dunlap situation is one, I'm not going to say that put Urban Meyer sort of over the top, but that was a serious blow to all the things he's been trying to do for this Gator program. And I don't mean to single out Dunlap, but we've heard that story repeated over and over from a number of people who should be in the know and are in the know. I mean, when Meyer took over for Ron Zook, he came in and cleaned out, I'm not going to call them malcontents, but certainly a lot of players around this program that he did not want around and try to get this thing going in the right direction.
Here you see a blitz by Hayden off the edge again. Same thing. Blitz, but then covered quickly on the backside by Wright. Yeah, you know, and what I'm referring to, obviously, is Urban Meyer. Again, it's not just the pressures on the field, but you have the lives of these young people in your hands as well, and that can take an emotional toll as well.
Third down, and Pike sacked by the aforementioned Mr. Dunlap, who is some kind of player.
Well, and you're going to see Dunlap. This is one impressive athlete coming off this weak side here. His quickness, look at, he spins right here. All of a sudden, the offensive lineman couldn't even get his hands up. The quickness, the athleticism, the long arms of Dunlap. This is very much a pro prospect should he choose to come out this year.
He was the defensive most valuable player in the 2009 FedEx BCS National Championship game a year ago. First team All SEC. And Tony Pike has been under heavy pressure all night long.
And again, not just from the front seven or the front four, but that pressure is a result of the shutdown coverage that this athletic Florida secondary is able to do to these Cincinnati receivers, making it very difficult for Tony Pike to get anything off with any kind of rhythm.
Minute and 32 seconds away from our Reese's halftime report. Chris, Eddie, and Jimmy bringing a full day of college football on this, the first day of 2010. The Reese's BCS halftime show. That went off the toe, it looked like, of the punter Rogers. Great field position for the Gators with 1:23 left. And after Florida took that timeout a moment ago, they're very much thinking about scoring again.
Well, this is that running punt I referred to earlier. It delays the kick itself. You can see he's just going to move out to the side here. And that's hard to do on the run. And if you don't hit it just right, it helps to isolate coverage packages. Can be very effective, but it's a hard thing to do. And that just shanked off the side of his foot. They're lucky it rolled for the distance that it did.
Tebow to throw on first down. And this is Rainey. And he is tackled at the 40-yard line. Gain of 14 on first down. Minute 15 to play. They'll stop the clock to reset the chains and then start it back up.
Rainey on the outside is what we were referring to as how effective he is on the outside and why they've kept him out there.
Tebow looking around, and he'll keep it himself. Caught from behind by Alex Daniels, just short of a first down. Gators do have 2 timeouts remaining. We're under a minute. All day to throw for Tebow. And then finally felt from pressure from Alex Daniels and an incomplete pass. Those have been few and far between tonight. 18 of 20 for over 300 passing yards here in the first half for Tim Tebow.
And I've got to tell you, when we met them earlier in the weeks, first time I've actually met Tim Tebow, I've got to tell you how shocked I was. I mean, I've been watching him on TV like everybody, but how just a big and this is a man now. This is as big and physical a specimen as I've seen at the quarterback position in a long, long time.
Be very interested to hear in the second half your thoughts, Brian Billick, of Tim Tebow's future at the next level as a quarterback. We're going to celebrate his final game here tonight collegiately, but you've been around the NFL and around quarterbacks for a long, long time.
Well, as I said, and we'll talk about it in the half.
Illegal shift on the offense, 2-man in motion without setting. 5-yard penalty, third down.
And there's a lot of scrutiny that's going to come over Tim Tebow, and we'll touch on in the second half. But you meet this young man, regardless of what the odds are, whatever his future is, this young man's going to be okay. What an outstanding individual he is. Has great personal confidence and strength, not arrogance, but there's a personal strength in what it is he wants to do. But he's going to be challenged over the next little bit as he moves on to this next level, because now it is about the business. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to scrutinize everything that he does. And he'll be fine with it, but I worry about him. I do, because he's going to be scrutinized in a way that I'm not sure he's totally prepared for.
Really is amazing. You and I were talking about this before we had a chance even to sit down with the Gators. You know, you go back to the championship game last year and really throughout his entire career. I don't know if it has to do with his faith. I don't know what it has to do really with anything, but it is amazing some of the jealousy and the cynicism and the sarcasm that is directed at a young man that, you know, it's safe to say. I mean, who wouldn't want your kid to grow up to be like Tim Tebow, right?
But you can be Tebowized. It can be too much, and it's not the young man's fault. We do it all the time as the media, but sometimes you can just wear out your team. You can even wear out your fans.
Hernandez a catch, tackled by Schaefer at the 30. Stop the clock as they convert to a first down. They're trying to hurry to that line of scrimmage before they started back up. 19 seconds remaining.
You know, it was interesting to listen to them talk about how the way this team, and he's come in, it's been very much made public about he's got a great personal faith. He's very faith-based. And you can be put in some very uncomfortable situations. It was interesting to hear how readily his teammates protect him. If they're out and about and they see some things going on that obviously could put him in a compromising situation, you know, I mean, you're on a college campus, those things happen. They jump in right away. They protect him from those types of things.
Nelson the catch, run out of bounds, stopping the clock with 14 seconds left.
You know, the halftime discussions of a coach and his team, in this instance Jeff Quinn and his Cincinnati Bearcats, at halftime down 30-0. A lot of soul searching. You're going to find out what you're about as a man, as a team, as a teammate in these kind of situations. Regardless of win or lose, they're trying times, but this is what college football is about as well.
Tebow to throw it in the waning seconds. Corner of the end zone incomplete. Clock stops with 8 seconds remaining. Tebow looking over to the sideline. It is a 4th down, and out comes Caleb Sturgis in the field goal unit. Of course, Cincinnati, we talk so much about Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow, but you know, Brian Kelly, I mean, you talk about a man who single-handedly, along with help, but I mean, in the most high-profile position, raised this Bearcat football program from mediocrity, as that field goal is no good from 39 yards away. But Brian Kelly is watching tonight, undoubtedly the biggest Cincinnati Bearcat fan in the world, and you know it pains him not to be here. The whole system and the way it's set up. I know you've thought a lot about that, and really can feel for Brian Kelly for not being here tonight to finish this magical season.
And you wish there was something the NCAA could do to help the situation, because you know, you do feel like it's an abandonment, but there's a business side to it, and no one can fault Brian Kelly. The job that he's done here at Cincinnati, you're right, it's second to none. And he's certainly deserving of an opportunity like he's getting at Notre Dame. No one can fault him for that. But to be able to have to leave these kids at this time, 12-0 season, bringing into this Sugar Bowl game, you'd like to think there's some kind of apparatus that could be put in place to prevent this type of situation presenting itself.
Jacob Ramsey on the final play of the first half, a frustrating half for one game. Interim head coach Jeff Quinn, the right-hand man of Brian Kelly for 21 years. 30-3, Gators in front. Stay tuned to the Reese's BCS halftime show with Chris, Jimmy, and Eddie. It's coming up right after these messages and a word from your local Fox station.